Anna Campbell, and I work with the National Christian Foundation of Indiana. I'm the VP of Operations for them, and that's a fairly new position. I've been in it about just over a year, and before that I was the Director of Giver Services. So, like I said, I've been in my position for about a year, and when I was promoted, we were in a season of transition and growth, and things were moving really quickly. And so a lot of things that I came across needing processes and systems for, I sort of went, I'll handle that in a minute, right? Like, I'll get to it. I got to focus on what's in front of me right in this moment. And what happened was, all those things that I kept saying, I'll figure it out later, just sort of built up. And I didn't have the chance to go back and actually figure some of these things out, and hit just a moment of burnout earlier this year, which was hard because I really love my job and feel really called to it. And so to admit that I was burnt out on something that I really loved felt kind of like, oh, I'm not supposed to say that. But I was, and I sort of dug myself into a hole of just always being on this fast forward mode and not really taking the time to stop and go, okay, am I doing things the most efficient and value-added way? And so I hit this breaking point where I was like, I need somebody else to tell me what to do, which is when I'd gotten to know you over the last couple months, and I said, maybe Jill can help me. I think one of the disservices our culture's done for women in particular recently is this idea that we have to do it all our own and we have to do it right the first time. And so coaching with you sort of gave me that freedom to say, it's okay that I haven't figured it all out. And it's also okay that I need some help creating better systems in my life. And one of the most impactful, exercises we did was that very first week, you had me think through, if nothing changes, what's the cost to that? What am I giving up in the future if I stay the way I am today? And that was really, that impacted me. That was a really strong visual for me of who's going to suffer if I don't make good changes. And it wasn't just me. I wasn't the only player in that story. And so that was a really strong entry into this coaching process to say, okay, this is super value added. And I think too, I just really, the whole process appreciated how vulnerable you were with your own story. And that made a really safe and authentic space to share some of my past traumas that were now informing my habits. And also to, again, just remind myself throughout the whole thing that it's a journey, it's a growing process. And there isn't like okay, I figured it out moment, I'm good for the rest of my life. It's going to be constant. Yeah. I sort of took that like pressure to get it right the very first time off, which was awesome because I'm a 3-wing 4 on the Enneagram, and I do have some perfectionistic tendencies. So that was really nice to have a safe space to like process through what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And then I just really appreciated how, accountable and kind you were throughout the process, right? Like you didn't let me skate by, but also you were just super compassionate and kind about like, hey, like life happens and sometimes our weeks don't look the way we want them to look, but here's how we can adjust and move forward. And so I just like the whole experience with you was lovely. Yeah, so, and this, might not be everyone's cup of tea, but for me, I think your perspective as a follower of Jesus was really important for me. And I think that was a really unique differentiator in this experience. It's sort of, self-care gets like tossed around so much, and we've just adopted a really shallow version of it. And we've sort of thought, well, self-care is going to get a massage or taking a break, and like it is those things, but it's also soul care and taking care of the inside of you. And I think that your coaching specifically met both those needs. It was like, how can I practically attack my day so that I'm not burnt out by the end, so that my family's not getting the scraps of my energy, but also what kind of spiritual habits pour into creating that energy and that mindset so that I can do those things well. So I think that marriage of like spiritual and practical was really specifically helpful for me. I am a very spiritual person, and so that's an important part of my life, my journey. People thinking about investing in this personal coaching, and I know that is a big investment in a lot of ways, like time, money, energy. I've been thinking about this. One of the best pictures I have of like how I feel afterwards is like when you have a closet full of junk and you get like 3 hours on a Saturday to just by yourself, like no kids, no distractions. You just get to like clean that closet out, and you're scrubbing the baseboards and you're reorganizing and you're going to Target and you're getting like the keychainers. And like that sense of like just really that deep soul cleaning is sort of how I feel afterwards, where I'm going, this was so worth the investment on all fronts, just because now, even though it's still a journey and I'm, still struggling with prioritizing and still having to make daily choices to like put my energy in the right spot, I have such tangible tools to lean back on, and now I have a new accountability and friendship, right? So that cleaning out of the soul closet, like the best picture I can give of what coaching feels like, and it feels good. And there's always an excuse not to clean out that closet, right? Like there's always an excuse to be like, that can't be at the top of my priority list right now. I've got too many other things happening. But when you do it, you feel so refreshed. You're like, okay, some to my mental list, right? I think a lot of women feel about investing in themselves is like, well, when I get some extra time or some extra money, and it's sort of like, but if you did it, you would feel so good afterwards, and you'd have capacity to then handle your big priorities so much better. If you're on the fence about coaching, I would just go back to that first exercise you had me do, and that question, and like praying, journaling, or meditating around it of, if you don't do anything differently, what are you giving up in the future?